Everybody, we're going to call to order the Board of Commissioners meeting at 10:13. At this time, we will accept any public comment for items not appearing on today's agenda. If there are any public comment, simply unmute yourself on the Blue Jeans application window and feel free to make any public comment at this time. Is there any public comment? Okay, seeing none, we will accept public comment as we are on each of the agenda items. We're going to move down to looking for a motion to approve our minutes from our Thursday, September 20th Board of Commissioners meeting. Is there a motion to approve? All right, okay, so it looks like Commissioner Dersham, it looks like it's just you and I for right now, so.
Okay, I will make the motion.
Okay, I will second that, and we'll once Mark gets back on, we'll go from there. Any further? Oh, you're back on? Okay, we have success. We moved and seconded it, Mark, so we're going to call the question on the minutes. All in favor of approving the minutes, say aye. Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion is carried. In COVID-19 planning and response, I don't believe that we're going to be having an update here today from Mary Kay, but Margaret, is there anything that you'd like to add for the COVID-19 discussion?
Nothing new to add. I do know that Jeff may be prepared with a report on PPE. Not sure if you want to hear that now or wait until later on the agenda, but that would be the only formal report we have this morning.
Okay, thank you, Margaret. Let's cycle through some of the other items.
Certainly.
We can cycle through and then we can give Jeff a little more time to expand on that. So, okay, thank you. For personnel items, we have one item, which is to consider approval of a check for educational program support in the amount of $797.50 for Shane Lee Brownell, and this is in the district attorney's office, and she is a department clerk too, and this is for satisfactory completion of her paralegal certificate course. So congratulations to Shailene. Is there a motion to approve this item?
Motion to approve the check for educational program support in the amount of $797.57 for Shailene Brownell. Apologies if I'm pronouncing it wrong.
I will second that.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Okay. Going into, again, for elections, we have two items here. The first one is to approve the new job description for the position of vote-by-mail worker in the elections office, again, and this is then for a personnel requisition for those positions. And again, we would be looking at up to eight of these positions that would be working. If you weren't with the salary board, this would be for processing over-the-counter vote-by-mail that would be used either here at the Willowbank building or at the elections office, or the satellite elections office that we're currently potentially going to be working towards at the Ticket Center at the Bryce Jordan Center. And again, these would be grant funded either through the CARES Act or through a grant through the Center for Tech and Civic Life that we're awaiting award, hopefully this week, by the end of this week. So we look any discussion from the board on this or questions before we look for public comments.
Again, I cannot support this, just so you understand.
Commissioner, yeah, thank you. You were very at our Board of Commissioners meeting. I'm sorry, Board of Elections meeting on September 15th. You had aired your concerns and thought. We appreciate them, and we will double our efforts to make sure that what we're doing when it comes to the satellite elections office here at the Willowbank are well documented, well audited, and we have good procedures in place there. So hopefully, we hope that you would follow that process and give input and insight as we go forward on that. But I appreciate your nay vote on this and recognize that.
Thank you.
Okay, we look for what we'll do now is we'll look for any public comment on these two items before we look for a motion. And if anybody would like to make, again, public comment, simply just unmute, and we will go from there. And one of the things I should say, Natalie, is if we have muted individuals that are on the phone, they would not necessarily be able to unmute themselves to make public comments. So we may want to unmute some folks who have dialed into the meeting, because I think I'm seeing some cell phone numbers that we don't typically see. And you can unmute yourself, Natalie, just so we can verify. Did they mute themselves, or did we mute them?
Recording is on.
I'll tell you something that as I look at all this, wonderful job by Steve and Raph.
Natalie, are you able to? Yes, we can.
Okay, so I had muted them because we were getting a lot of feedback.
Okay, that is appreciated. And so, we've got one phone there that's 1701. It ends in 1701. Would you be able to mute yourself on your phone so we don't have to mute you? Okay, it looks like they might.
No, I cannot.
Oh, you cannot.
How do I mute myself on the cell phone?
Oh, on the cell phone. Do you have an iPhone or an Android?
iPhone.
On the screen, it'll have a mute option with a little phone through it and a little. You can see what I'm doing here. Okay, it kind of looks like a cancel sign over the phone, or the cancel sign over a microphone.
I'm not seeing.
Okay, is it okay if you mute me on our end?
Yes, go ahead and mute me.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
We'll do. Thank you. Okay. Is there anybody who'd like to make any public comment on this? Okay. All right. Seeing none, we'll look for a motion.
Motion to approve the new job description for the position of vote by mail worker in the Elections Department effective September 17th, 2020. Would you like me to continue the motion to add number 2, Mike?
Sure.
Okay. And to consider the approval of personnel requisitions for a vote by mail worker in the Elections Department at salary grade N02 effective September 17th, 2020.
I will second that. It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion from the board? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no.
Aye, nay.
Okay. Motion is carried 2-1. Okay. Moving on to facilities management. Lee, we believe that we have you. I think you may. Let's see, Lee. You join the call. Okay, not yet. All right, so we're going to look just for a motion to consider approval of the personnel requisition for custodial worker 1 in facility management.
Motion to approve the personnel requisition for custodial worker number 1 in facilities management effective September 17th.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any final discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Okay, we'll welcome Ryan back in for this probation item.
All right, good morning. So about a month and a half ago, I was brought to my attention that Deb Reed, our office manager of, I believe, over 35 years, was indicated that she's going to retire by the end of, sorry, phone call, by the end of 2020 or maybe January 2nd or 3rd of 2021. In doing that, we needed to, because we're losing so much valuable experience and knowledge, we needed to kind of look at the succession plan. So I looked at the job description and what she does now to what she currently does. We needed to add some more job duties because it's not under the current job description. So I approached the court and requested to see if we could reclassify, rename, or create a position, kind of outlining some of those additional duties that we're going to be requesting the new person to do. And I did provide that on the new job description. But over the years, she has to oversee, the new position is going to oversee 6 clerical staff. She has to have knowledge, or this individual has to have knowledge in all sentencing guidelines, pretty much every aspect of adult and juvenile court proceedings. Have to have knowledge in all audit purposes, et cetera. So with that being said, they are literally the critical function of our office on a day-to-day basis. So we are hoping that we could create a new job and title it an office coordinator position.
Okay. Thank you, Ryan. Any questions, feedback for Ryan?
Hi, this is Kristen from HR. I know that they want to, this is to approve the job description. The item we didn't do on salary board was to actually create this position. So right now, all you'd be doing is approving a job description for a position that hasn't been added yet, basically. So we wouldn't, and while there's another item on here saying that the judge has approved the requisition, we won't be able to post it until we do that salary board item next week to create the position, because that was to create the position. This is the job description. So there's a lot of steps in there, but I know that they want to create this position and have it kind of run concurrent with Deb so that Deb can provide some of that 30 plus years of knowledge and training to whoever takes the role.
Okay, thank you, Kristen. So Ryan, would you like us to create the position, or is there a hesitancy for us to go back into the salary board and create that position?
No, that's fine. I mean, whatever we need to do, I know that our intent from the court's side of things that we would be presenting a potential individual at the next salary board to fill this position. So
right, this
whatever
wouldn't
we need to do to be able to get that done.
Yeah, this wouldn't be the salary board item was just to create the position and basically add it into your budget, not to put someone in it and actually get that person's salary, just to create the item.
Okay.
So when you're ready to present someone, we'll put that on another salary board.
Okay. Yeah. If that's how we have to do it, yeah, please.
Okay. So what we can do, Kristen, I mean, it's okay if we would approve the job description, jump back into salary board and approve that, correct? That's okay?
Yes, that's fine.
Okay.
That's fine.
All right. Okay. No, not a worry. We only do this every 30 years for this position, so it's we're okay on this. Okay. So why don't we look for a motion then to approve the job description?
Motion to approve the new job description for the position of office coordinator in the probation department at salary grade S52.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion on that? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye. Aye?
Aye.
Motion is carried. And Ryan, what we might do is we'll do that at the tail end, come back in the salary board. I don't think there's any, if you'd like to stay on, you're more than welcome to, but I think we're good to go. So feel free to jump off if you'd like to. Again, you can stay on if you'd like to, but we'll take care of that by after we're done with our commissioners meeting. All right.
Okay. Yeah. If you don't need anything from me, I'm going to hop off.
Okay. Any other
questions?
questions? Oh no,
Thank you very much.
You bet. Take care, Ryan. Thanks. Bye. Okay. All right. So we've approved the job description for the probation office. Jumping into the planning section with some non-personnel items. We have two for our CDBG project review and a revision. And so we're going to welcome on Ray Stalinas, Mitzi Gallagher Long from CEDACOG to talk us through these. So good morning to both of you.
Morning.
Good morning.
Ray, did you want to go first?
Sure. Just with the fiscal year 2020 CDBG application upon us, the deadline for that application is the end of October. Mitzi's put together a spreadsheet of several projects that are potentially eligible for the 2020 application. So I think she was going to go over some of those that we've just received, and I believe there are some in the process of under surveys right now for income eligibility. So let Mitzi go over the list.
Sure. First, you have your allocation after admin to put towards projects is $289,058. The projects that are up for consideration, there is a Haynes-Arensburg Municipal Authority water well rehabilitation project. They would be asking for your full allocation. It is a $4.5 million total project. So what they would be asking for, if they are income eligible, would also to be applying for a competitive CDBG. And they are in the process of doing a survey that they started back in March. And it had kind of fallen by the wayside. We got them back on track, and they have 6 of 54 left to do. And then we will put it together and see if they qualify. They would have to be serving out of those 54, at least 51% be LMI, low moderate income. The second project is a Penn Township water tank replacement project. It is a total project of $457,320. They have already received a Commonwealth Financing Authority grant for $170,000 of the total project. They would be also asking for your total allocation of CDBG in order to get the project done. They are halfway through their survey. They're doing very well. They have 87. They have to do the full universe because it's under 100. So they are halfway done within a week. Again, they have a week to finish this before you're going to need to choose an actual project and allocate funds to it. Same thing with them. They have to have at least 51% of their customer base to be LMI eligible. The third project that was presented is a Habitat for Humanity, which would be a slum and blight removal in the Phillipsburg area. CDBG caps your total amount of allocation to use towards slum and blight at 30%. They are only asking for $28,480. There are a few issues with this project. What their intention to do is to use CDBG to remove the house, the structure that is on this property that has been deemed by Phillipsburg as a blighted property. However, because there is a known purpose, which they plan to build a Habitat for Humanity home after the demolition, not using CDBG, but because your CDBG funds, federal funds, are being used to demolish the structure that is there, and there is a known purpose afterwards, you now federalize the entire project, which they don't really understand yet. That is something I have to explain to them. So they plan to use in-kind donation for labor, for electrical, etc. But because you're going to use CDBG funds to demolish the property, it actually federalizes that building and construction of the Habitat home. So it would fall under where they're going to have to pay federal prevailing wages for the work that's done. They're going to have separations act to bid each area separately for HVAC, for electrical, for construction, and plumbing. So it also puts the county in a position of having to ensure that whoever lives in the Habitat home for many, many years afterwards, Centre County will have to guarantee it would be an LMI family. So there's some issues we need to think about with that project. Another project that
but before we move past that, is there a way that we might be able to use Act 137 dollars to perform the same function without having all the strings attached to the Habitat project?
Ray, I'll defer to you there. Since I'm not that familiar with Act 137, just CDBG.
I think at first glance, there's a possibility there, Commissioner Dersham. I know we were going to work on an RFP process for the 137 program. We haven't got to that point, but I believe that would be a possibility.
Because that's a frightening lineup of problems for Habitat on that project.
Indeed. Another possibility for CDBG from the 2019 on-funded projects, the notes that were left behind, Rush Township has slum and blight properties. I don't know whether this is still a project that they're looking at. I'm just throwing out possible projects from notes that were left behind. Again, this would fall under the 30% allocation that you can use towards slum and blight. From the notes, they said that there were 10 sites in Rush Township as of last year that were deemed blighted properties for removal, and they had an estimated cost of $20,000 per site. Another potential project, of course, is always curb cuts, which is a removal of architectural barriers. It creates a pedestrian flow through your town, a pedestrian access. I don't know if you have any townships looking for money towards curb cuts, but that is a general usual use for CDBG funds. And the only other potential project idea I had would be housing rehabilitation. It is something that most of us in CEDACOG are doing with our communities. It brings your housing stock in the county up to code and gives you a reliable tax base. Again, I'm not sure who, I know in Union County, I do this program yearly. They have a housing authority that runs the program for them. Ray and I briefly discussed that you don't have a housing authority in Center County, but there are a few organizations that do housing rehab projects.
Well, I'm sorry, Mitzi, just real quick. We do have a housing authority.
Okay.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Great.
Good.
So that might be a possibility of where to put your funding as well. If these, I know you prefer to do water, sewer projects, infrastructure projects. If they don't come through with an eligible project with their survey, that's always a possibility of where to put your money.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So from a timing standpoint, do we need to take any action today, Mitzi, or could we consider
this? Is just review.
Okay. Okay, excellent. Okay, but for our knowledge, we would need to make a final, or let's say this. What's the next decision point on this? Is it public meeting? What is it?
During your October 29th public meeting is when we are scheduled for you to actually select. We should have the survey results by then so that you will have a good choice of what projects are actually eligible.
Excellent. Okay, excellent. Okay. These are great projects. These are both of all these communities would benefit greatly. Any initial feedback for Mitzi on these projects? In addition to Commissioner Dersham's great suggestion about potential 137 usage, but any other feedback, questions?
Yeah, this is Commissioner Higgins. I was wondering if there are any potential rural broadband projects that might need some seed money or some matching money to allow us to add additional hundreds of people to receive high-speed broadband.
Not that I'm aware of, and you're going to have a hard time using CDBG because of the criteria of it being LMI. And also you can't do a design build. So your CRBG money is going to be much easier to use for a broadband project than your CDBG money.
All right, thanks for explaining that.
Sure.
Okay. So at this time, is there any public comment on the CDBG review? Any of those things anybody would like to offer public comment to?
Mike, this is Betsy. I think I saw someone from Habitat for Humanity possibly trying to maybe be unmuted. They were up on the screen there for a while, but
sure. Do you know their name, Betsy?
Well, I was trying to read it there. I thought one might have been the last name Hoy.
Oh, we have a Hay. There's an Hay, but yeah, were you thinking about?
Okay, well,
yeah.
Then my bifocals weren't reading that clear.
I think Stephanie Fost was the one from Habitat who supplied the application.
Okay. Any other public comment? Well, that really wasn't public comment, but any other public comment that we'd like to hear today? Okay. All right. And so returning to the agenda, we would have, let's see here, authorizing. Okay. So we would be then rolling into the reallocation, correct, Betsy? I'm sorry, correct, Mitzi?
Yes.
Okay.
As we discussed on Tuesday, we discussed a 2017 and a 2018 revision, and there's now also a 2016 revision needed. There were some remaining funds in the Potter's Mills project, $7,573. So that needs to be reallocated very quickly since you have an October 17th expend date. So we'll get that moved to a different project and then ask for an extension. The easiest place to move it is into the Unionville project. Our experience lately in the last couple months has been that most projects are all coming in way over budget. COVID has just created that issue, and construction companies are coming in way higher. So I don't think it'll be a problem expending it in the Unionville project.
Okay, great. Okay, any feedback for Mitzi before we look for a motion to add this to next week's consent agenda? Okay, hearing none, would there be a motion?
Motion to add the Community Development Block Grant Federal Fiscal Year 2016 revision to the Tuesday, September 22nd consent agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any final discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. Okay. Thank you very much, Mitzi. We appreciate it,
Thank
and we
you.
look forward to seeing you soon and talking soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And then we'll recognize Betsy Bart for this next item.
I don't have the agenda in front of me, so what is it?
Oh, I'm sorry. No, that's okay. This is the satisfaction piece for Diane Maurer Matheson.
Okay. Yeah, I thought I just got that actually.
And I think it's just a satisfaction piece, Betsy. I don't know if there'd be too much to add to it.
No, yeah, I don't. Yeah, that was. I think that was the first time home buyers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes,
Sorry
that is
about
correct.
one.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. We look for a motion. Okay. We look for a motion to approve the satisfaction pieces.
Motion to approve the satisfaction pieces for Diane Maurer Matheson.
I will second that.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion on this? Hearing none. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Okay. The motion is carried. Okay. Thank you, Betsy. All right. So let's loop back. We'll loop back up to turn it over to Jeff Warren for a brief update on our PPE allocations and how that's going. I do want to just remember that we do have an election board meeting at 11 a.m. And so we have the PPE discussion and then also a discussion item for COVID-19. So we do want to be mindful of the time, but we'll turn it over to you, Jeff, for an update.
Good morning, everyone. Our staff's over handing out the last of it to the first responders. All first responders will have received their PPE push from the CARES Act funds. We also got the Center County Correctional Facility yesterday. All businesses, the Commerce and Chambers of Business, they've been completed with the exception of State College in the downtown district. We're still working on some details of that. As of right now, the best option we have of storing it in that area is the Sean Coughlin from Center Region EMA has volunteered to store it at the Patton Township Alpha Fire Substation. Not the best location to downtown, but it's a lot closer than where we have it in Milesburg. So we're still working through that. We delivered Moshannon Valley's PPE this week and also Bellefonte Downtown District. Jody's been taking care of the Penns Valley businesses. So schools were all taken care of course, and that includes the private and charter schools. So very soon what we'll have left is the county portion of that for other agencies within the county government and some of the replacement supplies for what was dispensed in the prior 6 months of that. And that's about it. Like I said, things are moving along very well, and it should all be taken care of very soon.
Thank you very much, Jeff. We've as we've seen the increase in cases here in Center County, it's more important than ever to get those resources out so that we can keep, like you said, first responders and business community safe. So I really appreciate you making sure that was happening. Thank you.
I did leave one thing out, Mike. The hospital is taken care of this week, and Center Volunteers in Medicine, and we're working on a few other nonprofits at this point.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Thank you. Any questions, comments for Jeff from the board?
Yeah, Jeff, Commissioner Higgins, thank you very much for getting all the PPE out there. I did speak with Stan LaFuria yesterday, and he and his staff are very grateful for the PPE. I did remind them it's supposed to go to Center County businesses, not the Clearfield County businesses. And very, very good to hear that we have sent some PPE to Center Volunteers in Medicine. If we do have a bit of PPE left over, I think Center Volunteers in Medicine is a group that we might potentially look at making a second delivery to later in the year. But thanks for getting all that out. This is a time when everybody needs it. Thanks.
I'd like to echo those comments. I think, first of all, I know your office has been working very, very hard at making sure that this is being divvied up and divvied up fairly. I mean, you're talking about almost $1 million worth of product. So getting that out into the hands of the community, I think, is vital right now. And I want to thank you and your staff for all your hard work.
A little side note, I tallied it up while we were speaking here. We've been counting out over 620,000 items.
And Jeff, in terms of so as Commissioner Dersham mentioned, we had about $800,000 in purchased PPE. What amount of that have we gotten out in terms of dollars?
I don't have the exact figures. Like I said, it's almost probably 3/4 to, or a little higher percentage than that has been pushed out. And the other is going to be kept in reserve for some other agencies and emergencies. But all the different entities and categories that we presented you with have been taken care of.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. All right. And so we don't have any action on this. Just an update from Jeff. Thank you again, Jeff. We'll talk to you again next week for a brief update on PPE. All right. And so last on the agenda is a discussion item. This is for the COVID-19 continuity of operations consulting proposal, and this is from Catch Consulting. And Commissioner Higgins had added this to the agenda. We had received a few emails regarding this, and so we'll turn it over to Commissioner Higgins for any discussion that he wanted to have.
Thanks, Mike. Yeah, appreciate the time. We are fortunate to have one of the preeminent disaster recovery, continuity of operations consulting firms in the United States, located right here in Center County. He's been talking to me a little bit about the broad variety of services he offers, and there were a couple of items that I felt might be very helpful to the county. Let me pull up the Natalie Smith attached a variety of items to today's email. I'm pulling up the one Catch Consulting Center County proposal, final version 2.2, which is a Microsoft Word document. If you page down the document, let me find the page here. There's 3, 4, 5. A lot of pages here. Okay. It's section number 8, fee schedule, page 20 of 27. He talks about a continuity of operations plan audit for about $20,000, pandemic resurgence tabletop exercise for about $12,000, civil unrest tabletop exercise for about $12,000, crisis management training for about $15K, crisis communication program for about $15K, and then consulting, which would include a doctor with background in pandemics and infectious disease. The regular consulting rate is $300 an hour. The consulting rate for the doctor with the background in pandemics and infectious diseases is $600 an hour. But what is nice, there's no retainer fees for that. So the two I'm most interested in would be perhaps the pandemic resurgence tabletop exercise, because right now we're kind of in our resurgence of the pandemic. And if anything, things are probably going to get worse before they get better. So I think it would be valuable for Center County staff and our affiliated agencies before they get to conduct a 4-hour tabletop exercise based on managing resurgence of COVID-19 cases, because we're there right now, and if anything over the near term, it's going to get worse. And then if we could potentially discuss COVID-related medical issues with a national expert with no retainer fees at $600 an hour, I'd also be interested in looking at signing a initially no-cost contract for that type of service as well. So wanted to bring that up for discussion so we could talk about it, look over this particular proposal, and then there's a separate proposal for software that we could go over in a minute or two. Separate proposal for software.
This is Steve. I guess I'm open to the discussion. I haven't had a chance to review this information yet. I'd like to talk to maybe some of our folks in the, both inside and outside county government as to what we feel the value of this program would be.
Well, totally fine, Steve. I do just feel though that we have a little bit of time here to plan, to conduct a tabletop exercise. I just found it incredibly valuable working with Jeff, the EMA staff, and PEMA back in the summer of 2016 on an exercise that included a flooding emergency. And then on October 21st of the same year, we had a flooding emergency, and everybody did a fabulous job. In fact, the newspaper even complimented the job that the commissioners and the staff and that our first responders had done. But I think in part that was because we'd literally practiced it only a couple of months before. I'm hoping maybe we could put ourselves in the same scenario here where we practice, we think it through, we discuss it, and then if something does happen, we've at least done a dry run a month or 2 or 3 in advance. If something does happen.
Mark, thanks for your interest in putting this on the agenda. I think I also have an interest in it. I would want to look at it a little bit more. I do know that we have the CARES Act dollars available for this type of thing so that we could offset the costs. And it may have some value not only for a pandemic during the COVID-19 pandemic, but also going forward as well. But it may make sense to maybe do an informational conversation. I think this is potentially what Commissioner Dersham was alluding to, where we could sit down with our staff, talk about what this may look like, what might be some of the benefit internally with EMA, and just in general. And then go from there. But I do think there's some value in it, and also there may be some other individuals. I know this particular proposal is a local or somebody who is local or has familiarity with the area, but there may be some other opportunities as well from other organizations around the country as well. So, no, I appreciate you bringing it up. I think let's schedule something maybe next week to have the internal conversation and then see where we go from there.
That sounds great. And then the second item, which Natalie was also very thorough and attached, is a PowerPoint presentation entitled Center County version 2 Catch Consulting Ascend Software Proposal. If you pull that one up, as I remember, there's lots of explanatory materials that you'll need to take time to review. But if you just go straight to, I believe it's the next to the last slide. My screen's pulling it up here now. Yes, the next to the last slide, slide 19. There is a software firm, I think it's primarily out of Europe, but they're looking at breaking into the United States. So working back and forth with Catch a little bit, their initial proposal was to cover Center County government, all 35 municipalities, all of our different emergency responders, Penn State, broad variety of other organizations, and it was, as I remember, something north of $200,000. When I said that was maybe way more than what we might be willing to look at, he downsized it, worked with the software company to reduce it to $12,000 of initial upfront work, including their entering all of our data and training our staff within the county on how to operate the software, and just a $6,000 annual cost. As you can see when you review the slides, this software is pretty much all encompassing, and it would cover continuity of operations, and it has the potential as an add-on to notify pretty much everyone in an automated fashion during an emergency. I'd like us to at least take a look at this software, potentially maybe look at a couple of other vendors in the same space, because with the counties getting larger, we have more population. There's more stakeholders that we keep working with, and I think we're seeing that when an emergency happens, it tends to involve a lot of people, and we need to react quickly, and it's just hard to do that with email and phone and standard text. So that if we could have software that would have everything just pre-set up for various scenarios, where EMA staff could click a few buttons and boom, everything goes out to everybody, and then the EMA staff can start responding to the emergency responders and other groups. So just something to take a look at, see if it might be valuable for the EMA department, especially since right now we have a very affordable proposal in front of us. So open it up for comments here because I know we have an 11 o'clock.
Again, I think it's part of the bigger discussion we need to have once we get a chance to review it a little closer.
No, I agree with I agree very much, Commissioner, with both commissioners, that it's something worthy of discussion and look at, and we can set something up next week and just make this together. So that sounds great.
That's wonderful, and glad to hear that the EMA department worked very hard over the last couple of weeks to distribute virtually all of the PPE to all the stakeholders that we had identified. So wonderful work, and now we can perhaps do a little bit of planning toward the near and medium term future. Thanks.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. All right, so let's see here. We just want to make sure we have some housekeeping things done. We do need to jump back into salary board to take action to approve that
Yes.
Item from probation. Is there anything else that for the commissioner's agenda? Margaret, anything else we needed to cover?
Yes, we do have an item that has emerged due to school closures in the area, and I'm going to turn it over to Kristen so that she can quickly explain it to you. It's something that we really can't wait on, given the circumstances that we're now experiencing with schools. So go ahead, Kristen.
No, please go ahead.
The emergency FMLA provisions under the Families First Corona Response Act allows for employees to have time off due to school closures. the Department of Labor recently came out and said you can allow this leave to be used intermittently if your businesses so chooses. So normally an emergency FMLA would be a block of time, like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, up to 12. But because a lot of the schools are either going to adjusted schedules where kids are home a couple days a week and in person a few days a week, or if a child has special needs, they may be in school 4 days a week but have to be home 1 day a week. Or perhaps we have parents that are splitting time. If the schools are completely closed, they only need to be off 2 days. We'd like to be just for the board to give me direction to allow it to be used intermittently. That's what I need, is just the board to give me direction, say, yes, you can use it intermittently due to these school closures or partial closures.
Thank you, Kristen. Appreciating the fact that it is obviously very time sensitive with certain schools or districts that may be looking at a all remote learning posture. Let's appreciate that first and foremost. Certainly, it's very important. I would want to be a little bit more informed about this, what this means for us, and I have some questions. I'm not opposed to it. I just think I'd like to. I think it sounds good. I just would want to make sure that giving approval to it, that I have a little bit more information regarding it. So we can do two things. We can wait until Tuesday. If you think we can't wait until Tuesday, later this afternoon, we can. Well, I'll say that's my preference. If my other colleagues would want to be in favor of it, I'll certainly recognize that. But we could always schedule a meeting for later today as well. We are advertised for this afternoon, and we could do potentially something this afternoon for a commissioners meeting. So, Commissioner Higgins, any thoughts on this?
I would definitely like to help our working families, but I do have some concerns about the level of paperwork. Is this something that we can track in our software, both within HR and within the controller's office and finance? If we pull the trigger on this, I don't want it to create massive amounts of additional work for the other departments. I don't know if we've had a chance to double check all the codes available in the software.
We have set up a pay code to specifically identify time that's for the emergency FMLA school closures. So we have already worked on that with the controller's office, knowing this potential was coming. So, but we can have a meeting. I'm available later this afternoon if we want to discuss more questions. I don't think it can wait till Tuesday. We have schools already closed and employees that need to take time off next week to watch their kids.
All right. Well, glad to hear we've already taken a look at some of the internal policies and procedures that would need to be in place. So yeah, if we need to have a meeting on this afternoon, I'm available.
10-4.
Okay. So let's do that. It's absolutely super important. Thanks for bringing it to our attention. We just had that 11 a.m. meeting that we have to get into for the elections. I'm going to ask the chair of the elections board, Commissioner Dersham. I need to take a brief break, and so I will be back at 11:05. I hope that's okay to start the meeting, or to wait until I'm back to start the meeting. I just need to take a quick break. But
I understand that. That's fine. We'll reconvene right around 11:05.
Okay, thanks, Commissioner. Any other items that are coming before us? Hearing none, we look for a motion, because we have to go back into the salary board as well. Why don't we do this? Why don't we take that probation? Why don't we hold a salary board meeting later this afternoon for the probation item, and then also the commissioners meeting for this FMLA conversation? Let's do that. So can we set them up offline, and we'll go from there, Margaret?
Certainly.
Okay, thank you. Is there a motion to adjourn the Board of Commissioners meeting?
Do you want to adjourn or a recess, Mike?
We can recess. That's fine. Sure.
Okay. Motion to recess the Board of Commissioners meeting until later this afternoon.
I will second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All right. See everybody shortly.